Fire Eyes Media.
We haven't even scratched the surface of this case, or how thoroughly the university and Boulder County Sheriff's Office failed to investigate it. On February 9th, 2025, almost exactly a year ago, 18-year-old Megan Trussell walked out of her dorm at the University of Colorado Boulder after an argument with her roommate, who we'll be calling Harper. It was Super Bowl Sunday, and the temperature was dropping into the 20s. She had only a light denim jacket for warmth.
6 days later, her body was found miles away in a culvert in Boulder Canyon, a place Megan was unfamiliar with, in the middle of winter. Despite the questionable circumstances, missing clothing and personal items, her death was ruled a suicide.
Her parents say that the Boulder County Sheriff's Office ruled it a suicide first and tried to make the story fit after. And when you hear what they've discovered since, you may agree.
This is the story of Megan Trussell, a brilliant, funny, and talented college freshman, and the investigation that has left her family searching for truth. I'm Amber.
And I'm Gina.
And this is Weird True Crime.
Before we get into the timeline, we want to start with who Megan was, because her story begins way before the day she went missing.
Megan Piper Trussell was born on September 12, 2006. Her parents, Vanessa Diaz and Joseph Trussell, raised her and her older sister, Lindsay, in Denver, Colorado. The family was close, like really close. Even after her parents divorced, they co-parented seamlessly.
So seamlessly, in fact, that they took a family road trip from Canada all the way to Baja, Mexico in a Volkswagen van. Those are some dedicated parents right there.
Whew.
Yeah.
Vanessa and Joe also encouraged Megan to be her own person, and she definitely was. From everything we've learned, Megan was that rare kid who seemed wise and hilarious at the same time. Her dad called her a prodigy smartass. I love that. It's what I want to strive to be, a prodigy smartass now.
You are.
She can make anyone laugh, even in tough moments.
She was also incredibly creative. Megan filled sketchbooks with illustrations of her friends and daily life, and she played the bass guitar. She loved music. Everything from Jaco Pastorius to the Smashing Pumpkins to TV Girl. And she was proud of her vintage CD collection.
She had this old soul energy, but was totally in touch with her generation, too. Her mom said she could do accents so well that after a school play, where she played a Russian character, everyone thought she was actually Russian for the rest of the year.
That's impressive.
That is impressive.
And she was brilliant, like scored in the 100th percentile on state vocab tests. Brilliant. Megan spoke both English and Spanish fluently and was planning to study abroad in Spain. She also called herself a virgin pina colada connoisseur and had a running list of her favorites. Apparently, the one at Red Frog Beach in Panama was undefeated.
She was just joyful. You can tell how much her parents nurtured her individuality. They describe her as compassionate, funny, politically aware, and deeply empathetic. Someone who noticed when others were hurting and wanted to help.
And she was thriving at CU Boulder. She'd only just started her first semester as a film major, and she absolutely loved it. During her first week, she texted her dad, "College rules." She was making new friends, reconnecting with old ones, and talking about all the movies she wanted to make one day.
Yeah, she'd grown up watching films with her dad and had a love for whodunits like Knives Out, Clue, and Death on the Nile. She also loved campy movies like The Birdcage and So I Married an Axe Murderer. They even spent that summer before college binging all the classics she hadn't seen yet.
When I spoke to Megan's parents, her dad, Joe, shared this sweet story about Megan from when she was like 3 or 4 years old. Megan was not a fan of a very well-known animated movie, and Joe and Megan's shared dislike for this movie inspired a family tradition that Joe and Lindsay continued this year.
Megan and I had a tradition. There's a movie called Coraline. When Coraline came out, Megan was like 3, 4 years old, and we're all watching Coraline. And her older sister loved it, and it scared the hell out of me as a grown adult. I did not like that movie. And we're watching it, and Megan got off the couch and stomped her foot and burst into tears and walked into the entryway of our house and sat down on the stairs. And I said, Megan, what's wrong? And she said, that movie's scary and I don't like it. And I said, I don't like it either. So I sat on the stairs with her and made her feel better. But then Paranorman came out a couple of years later, and she had grown up a little bit. And I feel like that movie, it's got some adult themes, and it's a scary movie for little kids. But it was kind of a transition point for her where it helped her kind of deal with her fear of scary movies and some of her internal fears, I think, too. So it became an October tradition that me, Megan, and her older sister would watch Paranorman every year in October. And this is the first year she's not with us, and I watched it alone last night. So tough. Had to do it, you know. And I talked to her sister. I saw her sister Sunday night, and I said, we haven't watched Paranorman. And we realized we didn't have time to watch it together this week, so we decided to watch it independently. So I knew it was coming. I kind of prepared myself mentally, spiritually all day yesterday, and I sat down with my dog and we watched it. And it was, I felt like she was there. I felt like she was watching along with me, because wherever she is, I know she's somewhere. Maybe she doesn't have access to the movies, So I don't know. So I thought it was really important that I sit down and watch it. Excuse me. And yeah, it was powerful. Being in the middle of the movie was great. And then as the movie got towards the end, I realized that it was going to end. And and it was really difficult, but it was necessary to do that, to honor her, because I think everything we do is to honor our daughters. That's always been the case. And even more so now. That's really important that I maintain these traditions that I had with her, to keep her memory with us and to give her access to movies, because she was a movie buff,
I can't imagine how hard that was for him to do. Joe shared that it was a cathartic experience and how important it is to keep those positive memories alive, because they run into so much darkness with everything that's happened since her death.
When I asked Vanessa what one of her favorite mundane memories of Megan is, her answer was so relatable, in the sense that sometimes the things that drive parents crazy are the same things we miss in the end.
She was just such an individual, right? Like, there's never been anyone like her. There never will be anyone like her. She's the youngest in my family and in Joe's family, like of all the grandkids. And she's just, so special. It's such a light, like everybody was drawn to her and everybody thought they were her favorite person. She just had a real knack and a gift for that. And really making people feel seen and heard. Like she knew people's favorite things, she was a really good gift giver. And she was super generous. Shockingly, she was a saver, because she had ADHD, but I find myself even missing being like frazzled, because she always made me late to everything. And so now I have no excuse for being late, because it used to just be her. But she's absolutely time blind, that kid. Um, she almost made us miss her sister's graduation. She just, like she had to have her eyeliner just perfect. And but she just didn't seem to realize how long anything took.
Gina, I know you have two ADHD kiddos, so this was probably way too relatable for you.
So relatable. Corbin, my now 13-year-old, is so time blind. He will think he's spent 10 minutes doing a task when it's really been closer to an hour, or vice versa. It is so frustrating sometimes. So yes, I completely understand what Vanessa is saying.
Megan may have been time blind, but she had a huge heart. She was justice-oriented with a strong moral compass and believed people should be held accountable for mistreating others. This shows how emotionally mature she was for being so young.
After speaking with Joe and Vanessa and reading through her story, it really hit me that Megan seemed like one of those people you want to grow up to be friends with. Your kid becomes an adult and you think, wow, they're just cool.
Exactly. Megan's story isn't just sad, it's infuriating, because she was at that moment in life where everything was beginning.
And then, on February 9th, everything stopped.
Sunday, February 9th, 2025, was the night of the Super Bowl. No one heard from Megan after 8:45 that evening. Fast forward to Wednesday, February 12th, and Megan's mom, Vanessa, realized no one had heard from her since that night.
Right. Megan hadn't replied to any messages, which was unusual. So Vanessa reached out to Megan's dad, Joe. He hadn't heard from her either, and he'd actually texted to ask if she wanted to grab dinner soon, but hadn't received a response.
When Vanessa checked her daughter's phone records online, she realized Megan's phone hadn't been used since February 9th at 8:45.
That's when, in Vanessa's words, she just knew that something bad had happened.
Vanessa and Lindsay, Megan's sister, started calling every number in her phone logs. No one had seen or heard from her. Lindsay lived near campus and went straight to Megan's dorm, Hallett Hall. Her roommate said she hadn't seen her since Sunday either.
And the roommate hadn't reported her missing.
Which still blows my mind. When you live with someone and they vanish for days, it's not normal to not tell anyone. There was tension between Megan and her roommate Harper that could explain why she never reported it. We'll get more into that in a minute.
Megan's parents drove to Boulder and tried to file a missing persons report, but the CU Boulder campus police brushed them off, of course. They said she was probably couch surfing, and they've seen this a million times.
Why is this always the immediate assumption? Especially when you have family and friends saying she wouldn't have just cut off communication with the people closest to her. And her sister lives really close to campus. Why would she couch surf when she could have just gone to Lindsay's?
That line, they're probably couch surfing. We've heard it in too many college cases. It's this automatic assumption that a young person just needs space or that they're being dramatic, and it delays the most critical early hours of a search.
Exactly. Not to mention, it had already been days. The police finally started to take things seriously the next day, on February 13th. But by then, Megan had already been missing for more than 48 hours.
When the FBI got involved, they pieced together her last known movements using surveillance footage, phone pings, keycard data from the dorm, and witness statements. They found out that on the night she disappeared, Megan had been in her dorm room with her boyfriend while Harper was at work.
Around 9, Harper unexpectedly came back to the dorm on her break, something she never did, and they argued because the boyfriend was there. After the argument, Harper went back to work, and Megan's boyfriend told her he didn't want to get caught in the drama, that maybe they should take a break.
Some of you might be thinking, well, that's a silly reason to want to take a break, but this was a fairly new relationship. Megan and her boyfriend started talking in the fall, but things got more serious in January after the holiday break.
And the drama between Megan and Harper wasn't new. The tension had been rising between the girls for months, partly because Harper was allowing another person, who we'll call Ash, to stay in the dorm against Megan's wishes. It got so bad that Megan finally told Harper and Ash that Vanessa said Ash couldn't stay there anymore.
Now, did Vanessa actually say that? No. But she did tell Megan that it was her space and this other person didn't need to be there all the time. Vanessa told us it was obvious that Megan didn't feel safe enough telling them herself and used Mom as a scapegoat, which was fine with Vanessa.
Yeah, that would have been perfectly fine with me too. Use me as a scapegoat, kid. I tell Michaela all the time, if she doesn't want to do something and she doesn't feel like hurting somebody's feelings, hey, tell them I said no.
Yeah, I say the exact same thing. I'm like, blame it on me. I don't care. That's fine.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what moms do.
Yep. Vanessa and Joe shared more about the roommate drama during the interview. We're not going to get too into the weeds because they made it pretty clear that they're trying to play it safe when it comes to what they should and shouldn't say about that whole situation.
Right. But what I will say is that I told them it seemed like Harper knew Megan's boyfriend was going to be in the room and left work on purpose to catch her and start drama. They shared the same opinion. She was looking for a confrontation.
Harper also told or texted Megan that her boyfriend better not be there when she got back to the room, which is pretty controlling and falls in line with other shady behaviors Harper had shown over the previous months.
Yeah, they actually told me that Harper was very controlling about who Megan could and couldn't spend time with. And she had been reconnecting with an old friend that she knew when she was younger, and Harper had a big problem with that. So there were a lot of little things happening already that kind of culminated into this whole situation. Mm-hmm. So Harper comes home and quote unquote catches her with her boyfriend, which causes him to break up with Megan. Harper goes back to work and the boyfriend left at 9:17 p.m. and made it home within 15 minutes.
Vanessa commented during the interview about how Megan must have been feeling in that moment. Her roommate just caused her boyfriend to break up with her, and the last thing Megan probably wanted was to be there when she came back home to gloat.
Absolutely, which is more than likely why Megan left her dorm room at Hallett Hall at 9:36 p.m. when she was seen on security footage walking alone on campus. She was wearing 3-inch tall white platform tennis shoes, red pants, a black short-sleeved shirt, and a light denim-style jacket.
She had her custom-made purse with her, a round, blue and pink crossbody bag with a star on it. The purse was made by Megan's mom, Vanessa. It was a replica of the same purse the character Ramona Flowers has in the movie Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Vanessa even bought a special sewing machine to make this purse. I think there were around 6 prototypes before the final purse was completed. Megan loved it so much that she called it her security blanket and wore it all the time, even when just sitting on the couch.
You might be wondering why we're talking so much about this purse. Well, it becomes a huge piece of this story later, so just hold on to that thought. Megan was last seen on camera at 9:52 p.m. north of Hallett Hall near the Champions Center.
She didn't tell anyone where she was going. Her parents believe she might have been heading north toward her sister's apartment on Arapahoe Avenue, or maybe to the Circle K at 17th Street and Arapahoe, which was 2 blocks from Lindsay's place. We have a map marked with these locations on Instagram.
But the temps that night had dropped into the 20s, and Megan wasn't wearing a coat. In Vanessa and Joe's minds, she wasn't planning to be out for a long period of time.
Because the theory was that Megan was on the way to her sister's apartment or the Circle K, businesses and homes along the route were contacted for potential footage. But unfortunately, nothing else was found.
It's hard to imagine walking far in that weather without a coat. The temps were in the 20s that night, especially if you weren't planning to be gone long. Not to mention, Megan was afraid of the dark. So the idea that she just wandered off into Boulder Canyon alone at night in an area she wasn't familiar with doesn't line up with who she was.
Not at all. The FBI used Stingray technology, also known as cell site simulator, to analyze Megan's phone data. The records show that at 10:45 p.m., Megan's phone pinged near the Eben G. Fine Park, which is located off Boulder Canyon Drive. This area marks the beginning of the canyon and is a 52-minute walk from Megan's dorm.
Then, at 11:55 p.m., Megan's phone pinged again near the 40-mile marker of Boulder Canyon Drive, further west into the canyon. This is about 3 miles from Megan's dorm, or about an hour and 15-minute walk. After that, the phone was shut off or died. There
are several discrepancies with the cell phone data. Vanessa shared that the Boulder County Sheriff's Office insists that Megan's phone was still on and pinging until February 15th. Well, the CUPD, the University of Colorado Boulder PD, says the phone stopped pinging on February 12th. And then there's the original source that says the phone turned off on the 9th.
There's confusion around the timing of the cell phone pings as well. While the phone data records show that Megan's phone first pinged around Eben G. Fine Park at or around 10:40, the second ping's timing isn't so clear. One source says the ping near the 40-mile marker of Boulder Canyon Drive occurred at 11:55 p.m., but another states it pinged there at 11:05 p.m. So which is it?
Vanessa's frustration around these numbers is understandable. That's a huge amount of time to be unsure about. And when Megan's parents asked for access to the phone data, the CUPD told them they'd have to ask the FBI for that information.
Why do they need to ask the FBI when CUPD has all of that data in their report? We'll delve into the theories behind why the campus police and the Boulder County Sheriff's Office haven't been forthcoming. Still, it ultimately comes down to a desire to stonewall and create so many barriers that Megan's parents will simply stop trying, which isn't going to happen.
Earlier, we mentioned Arapahoe Avenue, where Megan's sister lived. Well, Arapahoe Avenue is north of campus, and a bit further north is Boulder Canyon Drive, where Megan's phone pinged. Boulder Canyon heads west out of town and turns into a highway that winds into the canyon next to Boulder Creek. There's a bike path next to the road, but this area is pitch black at night, not the kind of place where someone would go for a late night stroll, especially someone who's scared of the dark like Megan was.
Vanessa recently walked this path at the same time of night that Megan's phone first pinged there, and it was pitch black. She took a video, you can find it on Facebook or Instagram at Justice for Megan Trussell, and before she turns her phone flashlight on, you can't even see the pathway underneath her feet. Joe said that he couldn't see his hand in front of his face. It was that dark.
Yeah, I've seen this video. It is pitch black. It's like you're in a cave that's just been devoid of all light. Like, you can't see anything. There's no way anyone would willingly be down there at night, especially someone who's scared of the dark. Like, it's just insane. And it's important to note that when Megan went missing on February 9th, Boulder Canyon was frozen. The creek was solid ice. It snows in Boulder from November to March, and this path doesn't get a lot of sun, so it would have been icy.
And this culvert is hidden and off trail. You'd have to know it was there to find it. Vanessa and Joe shared that they have several friends who frequently bike in this area and had no idea the culvert was there. So the idea that Megan knew where to find this spot in the dark and somehow managed to walk there with possibly one shoe on icy ground is a stretch.
Not only is it extremely dark at night in Boulder Canyon, but there's also a large unhoused population in the area and a reputation for heavy drug use. Students are warned to avoid this area of town, especially women walking alone at night.
Once the CUPD learned that Megan's phone last pinged near the 40-mile marker, the Boulder County Sheriff's Office joined the investigation. Several agencies, including park rangers, brought in drones, search and rescue dogs, and dive teams to search the area. But Megan wasn't found during these initial searches.
On February 15th, park rangers returned to recheck a section of the 40-mile marker. 2 days before, a backpack and a prescription pill bottle had been found. The bottle turned out to belong to Megan. It was her Adderall prescription.
But here's where things get frustrating. The search and rescue volunteer who first found it misread the label and thought it belonged to the prescribing doctor. So they didn't immediately realize it was hers.
I guess it's an honest mistake if you're just briefly glancing at the label, but the prescriber's name is usually much smaller than the patient's name on the bottle. It's also important to add that Megan kept her prescriptions in her purse because she didn't want them to be stolen from her dorm room. She kept them in her purse. that was not found near the 40-mile marker.
When rangers went back, they spotted something down a deep snow-covered slope that led to the creek. It was Megan. She was lying on her back on the rocks below, completely covered in about 2 to 3 inches of snow. Her left arm was stretched out, and her right arm was pulled up into her jacket. Her head was hanging back at a 90-degree angle in an unnatural position.
She was found about 10 yards from that culvert that runs beneath Boulder Canyon Drive. And for those unfamiliar, a culvert is a large tunnel-like structure that allows water to flow underneath a road or railway. This culvert was large enough for someone to crouch down and walk through to reach the creek bank.
There was a homeless encampment inside the culvert, as well as on the far side near the water. It's critical to mention that there was no flat ground where Megan was found. The only way to reach her was by rappelling down the slope. It's also important to note that Megan was found right past the Boulder City line, like in the first possible spot she could have been in Boulder County.
When rescuers reached Megan's body, they found a broken stick near her right side, close to her arm. Her left hand had visible dirt and debris under the fingernails, and there was a black fingerless glove inside out on her right hand. We still don't know who this glove belonged to, because her gloves were found in her dorm room, and she wouldn't have worn them inside out.
She was wearing the clothes she'd last been seen in, but her right shoe was missing, and the black sock on that foot had no dirt, sand, plant debris, or other fragments that would indicate she walked anywhere with just a sock on. This shoe has never been found. Her left shoe, still on her foot, has clear scuffing, scraping, and markings on the top of it. But the tread is clean of mud, canyon sand, gravel, or soil, which would be expected if she had walked on the creek terrain. The denim-like jacket Megan was wearing was buttoned, but the left side was bunched up on her upper torso. Her left arm was outside the sleeve, which had been ripped.
Megan's red pants were covered in sand, pieces of dried plants, and what looked like thistles stuck to them. But that sock was completely clean. Megan was also lying on top of a pair of gray pants. She wasn't wearing a pair of pants like this in any of the surveillance footage. To this day, no one knows where they came from.
And one responding deputy wrote that she appeared to be covered by something, like a tarp or a blanket. But later, the sheriff's office denied that, saying that while a deputy may have believed he saw something, detectives and the coroner's staff didn't recover any materials wrapped around her.
Vanessa and Joe talked to me about this tarp. I'm not going to say much about it because I don't want to impede their investigation. But they did tell me that this blue tarp was shoved between rocks very close to where Megan was found. And Vanessa feels very strongly that it does play some sort of role in what happened to her daughter. When Megan's parents questioned the BCSO about it, they were adamant that it wasn't part of the scene. This tarp is visible in the scene pictures. It's right there near where she was found.
Joe and Vanessa have more questions as well. Search teams had already been in that exact spot multiple times that week, even within 5 feet of where her body was found, and somehow didn't see her. That begs the question, was her body actually there the entire time?
Most people don't believe she was there the entire time. According to a Facebook post made by Vanessa on December 7th, 2025, the 2 volunteers who searched that area on February 13th, just 2 days earlier, took photos and video of the search area and uploaded them to this specialized collaborative platform for search and rescue operations. Vanessa has requested these search files multiple times, but still hasn't received them.
One of the volunteers was interviewed by detectives, but the second volunteer, who had a clearer view of the area and found that backpack inside the culvert on the 13th, was never interviewed. And when the Trussells' private investigator tried to talk to him, the director of the Boulder Emergency Squad wouldn't allow it.
Why? Why wouldn't you interview a witness who found crucial evidence? The backpack, which is believed to belong to an unhoused person, was still there on the 15th when Megan's body was found, but it had been moved.
There was no significant snowfall between the 13th and the 15th, or moving water that would explain the shift in its location. But there were tracks around it. Who moved it? And how is it they found a backpack on the 13th, but didn't see Megan's body, which was just a few feet away, until 2 days later?
It's impossible to understand. She had bright red hair, bright red pants. Snow was only a few inches deep. Make it make sense.
A woman who lived nearby even said she was shocked they hadn't found her earlier because that area had already been searched multiple times. This woman gave BCSO the names of neighbors who might have surveillance footage, but the police never followed up.
Why am I not surprised? We hear similar stories entirely too often.
I know. They have a witness providing them with contact information for people who could hold crucial information, and they just do nothing with it.
So Megan's body was transported for autopsy. When the coroner's office later contacted Joe and Vanessa to share preliminary findings, they were told there were no signs of physical trauma. Only one single scratch on Megan's leg that was consistent with a branch. They also mentioned pill material that had been found, but we'll dive into this more later.
It was made clear during this call that investigators believed Megan had more than likely overdosed and taken her own life. Vanessa and Joe pushed back, telling investigators she wasn't suicidal. Because they were told Megan had no physical injuries, Megan's parents chose water cremation. Unfortunately, they would come to regret this decision when they received the full autopsy report months later.
There are so many things we could talk about when it comes to this autopsy report. We could make a whole episode on this topic alone, from the biased language to the outright lies. Vanessa told me that there's a note in the report stating that when they were informed about the abundant pill material, she commented, "I thought I knew my daughter better than that." She never said that.
That is so messed up.
Yeah.
Autopsy reports are supposed to be factual and scientific. That's it. But that's not what Vanessa saw when she was given the report after the suicide ruling. The language used by the medical examiner was biased and full of fluff in an attempt to paint the picture of an emotionally distraught young woman who got in a fight with her roommate and then another fight with her boyfriend.
The word fight insinuates there was yelling or even a physical altercation, which just isn't true. Harper, the roommate, even said it was a confrontation. The description of Megan in the report is also questionable. The medical examiner described Megan as being approximately 5'4". Megan was 5'2", and Vanessa joked that she would have been happy about that, and that her hair was box dyed in red color. Why say box dye? To Vanessa's point, it makes it sound cheap. There are other comments in the report to the same effect that come off as microaggressions and judgments, not statements of fact.
What's wrong with red box dye, huh?
Right? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
But the biggest issue with the autopsy report was the very long list of injuries to Megan's body. Remember how Vanessa and Joe were told she only had one scratch on her leg from a branch? That turned out to be far from true. Megan had bruises, scrapes, and abrasions all over her left side, her arm, leg, ankle, and hip. There was a 7.5-inch by 3-inch contusion on her left arm and a 2.5-inch contusion on her wrist. There were also a few 5-inch dark red abrasions on the mid and lower left of her back.
The left sleeve of her jacket was ripped, like we said. The autopsy report states that Megan had chipped teeth on the left side of her mouth. According to a Facebook post made by Vanessa on November 28, 2025, photos show a, quote, missing canine and a severely broken incisor, end quote. So the report minimized these injuries. The autopsy report also mentions a laceration on her forehead and abrasions inside her mouth. She also had abrasions on the fingertips of her right hand, her right arm, and on the ankle and toes of her right foot, where she didn't have a shoe.
There were also contusions on her chest and 11-inch linear red and purple abrasions on her lower extremities, though the autopsy didn't specify where these were found. There was also a 2.5 by 2-inch contusion on her scalp.
I'm sorry. That's not one scratch from a tree branch. That's a pattern of injuries that looks like someone who fought or fell hard, or maybe both. The coroner also tested for sexual assault, but I bet you won't be surprised to hear they never sent it for testing.
Nope, not even a little surprised. So she's covered in contusions, abrasions, questionable contusions on her head, missing and broken teeth on the left side of her face, but it's ruled suicide because they found pill material in her system? Okay, sure.
Right. There was no note, she had no history of suicidal ideation, and there's no logical explanation for why she was found near the culvert. So why push the suicide narrative? Here's Vanessa talking more about the suicide narrative and the forensic pathologist who made the ruling.
I don't understand why they couldn't just say undetermined. Like there's just clearly not enough evidence to say it's a suicide. There's no note. All they have is empty pill bottles, and what they said was abundant pill material in her stomach and esophagus. And we'll get to that in a minute because that's not even what it is. But it's just full assumptions. But why? Like, why go out of your way to say suicide when the same forensic pathologist claims that? I found a court filing where she stated that she wouldn't say something was a homicide because she had to be 99.9% sure that it was a homicide. She should have the same exact threshold for suicide. What, just because Megan's not here to argue it? Like the person who committed a homicide, obviously they're going to fight for their, to prove their innocence, but Megan can't fight for her to prove her innocence. Like, she didn't do this. And they have zero proof that she did this intentionally or that somebody didn't do this to her. There's no proof. So change your freaking ruling, right? But I think that they did want somebody to rule suicide.
The more we get into this, the more you're probably going to agree with Vanessa. They just wanted somebody to rule it a suicide. And we'll get into all of it next week.
We haven't even scratched the surface of this case or how thoroughly the university and Boulder County Sheriff's Office failed to investigate it.
Mind-boggling.
And just looking at it as, just a lay person, it's like, what the hell were they doing?
Make sure you're subscribed to us wherever you're listening so you'll be notified when part 2 comes out next week. Megan's story needs to be heard, shared, and talked about. The only way cases like this get the attention they deserve is when families and the public are loud and persistent, annoying law enforcement until they can't ignore them.
Exactly. Also, be sure to follow us on social media at Weird True Crime to see the visual content that accompanies the episode. Until next time, stay safe.
And make good choices. Bye.
Bye.